Hello GH fans, grab your snacks, silence your phones, and maybe double check your alibis, because Port Charles just turned into one big crime scene with a side of forbidden romance and dungeon horror. We've got Curtis sitting in a jail cell, Drew backed into a corner, Willow hovering on the edge of freedom or total disaster, and Dante staring at traffic cam footage that could blow the whole case wide open. And just when you think that's enough chaos, there's a love triangle adjacent mess with Michael, an escort, and a very inconvenient hallway moment with Nina, plus Carly hiding Valentin in her attic like he's some 6-foot-plus secret weapon against Jack Brennan. This isn't just another day at General Hospital, this is the kind of week where one wrong move could send someone to prison, someone else into a custody war, and another straight into a locked room at Windermere. We've got Portia clutching her stomach and begging for her baby's life, Britt swooping in to help without a medical license, Jason demanding answers about whatever nightmare Britt's caught up in, and Lucas wandering around that cursed castle where Anna may literally be locked up. You can almost hear the Windermere walls whispering, "Don't open that door." Meanwhile, the romantic chessboard is shifting in all kinds of dangerous ways. Michael is supposed to be the respectable congressman husband, but he's sneaking around with Jacinda like he's never heard of security cameras or glass doors. Nina walks in at the exact wrong moment, depending on how you look at it, and suddenly we've got ammo for future revenge, leverage in the custody fight, and one more reason for Willow to lose it. Over in Carly land, she's technically with Brennan, but emotionally checked out and secretly running her own resistance movement with Valentin hiding in the attic. Tell me that doesn't sound like fanfic that somehow became canon. And if you think the romance stops there, think again. GH may be teasing something a lot of us never had on our bingo card, Carly and Valentin possibly falling into bed in a rage-fueled, Brennan-hating, we're going to blow up our lives for one night moment. At the same time, Nina and Brennan might be circling each other as the next messy pairing, complete with behind-the-scenes selfies and WSB favors waiting to be cashed in. We're talking triangle overlap, revenge love, and possibly the most chaotic dating pool this show has seen since the peak Cassadine years. So buckle up, because we're going to dive into the jailhouse deals, the traffic cam bombshell, the baby scare, the dungeon at Windermere, and all the messy hookups and maybe future pairings swirling around them. Who really shot Drew? Will Curtis go down for something worse than obstruction? Could Willow actually walk free and march back into her kids' lives? And who's going to end up in bed, in cuffs, or in the castle dungeon next? Let's break it all down. Let's start with the heart of the chaos, Drew's shooting case. At the PCPD, things go from bad to worse when Jordan is called in to sign off on a transcript of that crucial conversation with Curtis and Nathan. She learns that Curtis has officially been arrested, not for pulling the trigger yet, but for obstruction of justice and giving a false statement. Translation? The cops know he lied, and if they dig deeper, they may decide it wasn't just a lie, it might be part of a murder-for-hire plot. Over in Lockup, Curtis is doing damage control while also slowly unraveling. Trina and Kai come to see him, only to hear that he lied about being alone at the Savoy the night of the shooting. He claimed he was solo, but security footage proves Selina Wu was there. Curtis basically admits he thought he could do one more shady dance with Selina, then realized the cost was too steep, but he still covered for her because she wants her return to Port Charles on the down low. He tries to spin it like, I didn't think it mattered, but Trina is no fool. You can see the wheels turning. If he lied about this, what else is he hiding? Trina's reaction is pure gut punch. She's overwhelmed, hurt, and furious that her father is once again tangled up in secrets, and when Jordan appears, it's like adding lighter fluid to an open flame. Trina bolts with Kai, leaving Curtis to face Jordan alone. That sets up a powerful moment, Curtis realizing the damage to his family may be worse than the legal fallout. Still, he pushes Jordan for help, hinting that there might be a way to mitigate this if she plays it right. He's hoping the mother of his child can help keep him from going down for something bigger than obstruction. Meanwhile, at Alex's place, we've got a little legal strategy session happening with emotional landmines all over the living room. Nina is practically vibrating with hope that Curtis' arrest will magically clear Willow. Alexis, being the voice of reason, tells her to slow down. They don't even know what Curtis has actually been charged with at that point, and in the eyes of the law, Willow is still the one on the hook for attempted murder. Drew, for his part, is angry that Michael isn't the one in the hot seat, and that old resentment flares. Willow, holding onto her ring and the life she built with Michael, listens as Nina tries to frame Curtis' arrest as the game changer. Nina's all but whispering, "You're going to be free," but Willow can't say much because Drew is nearby with Alexis. Suzanne's source comes through with the real info, Curtis charges, and the big detail that Selina was caught on security footage. Suddenly, Alexis has to admit that if things escalate and Curtis gets slapped with an attempted murder charge, Willow's own case could get tossed. But it hinges on the investigation and how far the PCPD decides to go. Over at Aurora, Michael is having the kind of day that makes you want to throw your phone into the harbor. Cops have been sniffing around, his name's in the orbit of the Drew case, and then he finds out Curtis has been arrested. Instead of running home to hug his kids and lawyer up, he heads to Crimson, where Jacinda is trying on dresses like she's in her own fashion montage. He fills her in on Curtis and the possibility that Willow might wriggle out from under her charges. Jacinda points out the obvious, dating an escort while being married to a congressman is a choice. A very public, very risky choice. But Michael insists what they have is real. And then, because this is GH and not a HR training video, clothing starts coming off. Of course, that's the exact moment Nina walks in and catches them mid-passion. She's stunned, and you just know her brain is already cataloguing this moment as future leverage in the never-ending war over Wiley and Amelia. That one walk-in connects so many threads, Nina's rivalry with Michael, her fragile connection with Willow, and the larger narrative of who actually deserves to be raising those kids. Back at the PCPD, Dante and Nathan are doing actual detective work, rare but satisfying. Nathan's zeroing in on Curtis' financials, wondering if there might be a telltale payment trail for a hit. At the same time, Dante realizes there's been a labeling error on some traffic camera footage from near Drew's place. They pull up the file, watch what unfolds, and Dante's reaction, "We've got our answer," makes it clear something very important just shifted. Whatever is on that footage, it's pointing them toward their next suspect. Over at GH, we pivot from bullets to babies. Portia is doubled over in pain and terrified she's losing her child. With no OBGYN on hand to see her quickly, she turns to the one person she trusts medically, even if the board doesn't, Britt Westbourne. Britt doesn't have her license right now, but that doesn't erase her training. She orders tests through Lucas, explains everything as precautionary, and works overtime to keep Portia calm. She reassures her that hydration, rest, and monitoring will get them through, and for now, the baby seems safe. Isaiah is blindsided by the pregnancy news and learns that the baby could be his or Curtis. Portia fills him in on the paternity uncertainty and the fact that Jordan already guessed the truth and told Curtis. The one thing Curtis doesn't know? That Isaiah might be the father instead. Portia vows that if the test shows Isaiah is the biological dad, she'll come clean. It's a promise that might blow apart multiple relationships and rewire her entire family. Elsewhere at the hospital, we get lighter but still character-building beats. Christina and Molly share sister time in the waiting area, with Molly confessing that her cowboy character was inspired by Cody. She's also nursing hurt feelings after seeing Cody and Britt kissing at the bar and not realizing he pulled away and admitted he wanted someone else. Liz is nursing an eye problem, and Felicia pushes her to see an ophthalmologist. That leads to a Demodex blepharitis PSA. Yes, GH found a way to make eyelid mites canon. Somewhere, Monica is rolling her eyes and saying, "At least it's medicine." Fast forward to the next day, and the tension keeps building. In lockup, Curtis continues working on Drew, hitting him with a very blunt line, "If Curtis' life goes up in flames, Drew's goes with it." Curtis knows Drew has a motive he doesn't want exposed, and he's betting that Drew will choose self-preservation over righteous honesty. At the same time, Dante and Nathan bring the new traffic footage to ADA Justine Turner. Dante basically asks, "So who do you want to go after now?" That means whatever they saw either contradicts Willow's story, Curtis' story, or both, and someone's about to land back in the crosshairs. At the Quartermain mansion, the emotional stakes are just as high. Chase goes off on Michael, insisting he's not going to be the guy who steps between a mother and her children. It's clear Chase is not interested in being the wedge that lets Willow reclaim custody if it comes at the kid's emotional expense. Later, Willow shows up at the mansion, desperate to see her children, and runs into Brooklyn, who shuts it down hard. BLQ tells Willow she has to leave. Even though she feels mixed and slightly guilty, she chooses the kid's stability over Willow's desperation, at least for now. Meanwhile, Jason is watching Britt spiral and finally snaps. He demands that she stop hiding and tell him what exactly she's up against. Even if she doesn't spill every ugly detail about Jenz Sidwell, FanZone's legacy, and the final project, Jason sees enough to know she's in danger. He pushes her to choose freedom, to accept his help, and to stop trying to handle everything alone. Over at Windermere, another storm is quietly brewing. Lucas moves into the castle with Marco, and we're told repeatedly that Sidwell and Pascal are worried about what Lucas might see. Pascal is already suspicious, and we know Anna is being held somewhere nearby, close enough for Pascal to swing by with macarons from a business meeting and then deliver the same treats to a prisoner. That means the dungeon or secret chamber isn't some far-off wing, it's tucked into the bones of the castle. Lucas is set up to notice odd things and start exploring. And when he does, he may find Anna chained up in some hidden pocket of Windermere, which could land him a cell right beside her if Pascal decides Lucas has seen too much. And over at Carly's house? She's playing double agent spouse. Officially, she's sleeping with Brennan, keeping up the act, and pretending she's still into him, even though every minute with him is clearly making her skin crawl. Unofficially, she's harboring Valentin in her attic, arguing with him about the risk of all this and working on a secret alliance to bring Brennan down. It's domestic espionage, GH style, and it's only a matter of time before that attic becomes the hottest room in Port Charles, in more ways than one. Let's talk about Curtis first, because this man is living in shades of grey right now. On paper, he's the stand-up club owner, the guy who wants to protect his family and rebuild his life. But under that polished exterior, he's still the guy who made deals with Selina Wu, gambled with his own soul, and thought he could outmaneuver the mob without getting dirty. His lie about being alone at the Savoy isn't just about protecting Selina, it's about protecting his ego. Admitting she was there means admitting he slipped back into that world, and that his choices opened the door to this disaster. His secret agenda is survival. He doesn't want to go down for attempted murder, and he definitely doesn't want Trina to see him as the villain. So he plays the I didn't think it mattered card, hoping that Jordan will remember the man she loved and choose to help him. He's also trying to rope Drew into a mutual protection pact. If Curtis sinks, he'll drag Drew with him, and he wants Drew to feel that pressure. It's ugly, but it's honest. Curtis is doing whatever it takes to keep his life from collapsing, even if it means blackmailing another man who's already barely hanging on. Drew, on the other hand, has been simmering with anger for a long time. He feels betrayed by Michael, used in someone else's war, and now potentially framed as a man who had it coming. His motive is complicated. He wants justice for what was done to him, but he also wants control. The last thing he wants is for his own secrets and grudges to come out in open court. Curtis is playing on that fear, essentially saying, "Help me, or I'll make sure everyone knows why someone would want you dead." Drew's trapped in that classic Port Charles bind, tell the whole truth and risk the fallout, or bury it and get into bed with someone else's crimes. Willow is the emotional center of this mess. She's the one everybody's talking about, fighting over, or secretly investigating. On the surface, she's the devoted mom who just wants to see her kids and put this nightmare behind her. But the lies about that night, the drive to Drew's place, and whatever's on that traffic footage suggest there's more going on. Is she really the shooter, or just the perfect patsy? Her motives are layered: protect her kids, protect herself, and maybe protect someone else who doesn't deserve to go down. Every time she reaches for hope, like when Nina suggests Curtis' arrest is her ticket out, we see how fragile she is. Desperation can make people reckless, and Willow is walking that line. Nina is a fascinating wild card. She's clinging to the idea that Curtis' arrest means Willow will be cleared, not just because she wants Willow free, but because she desperately wants a winner in her relationships with Willow and the kids. Nina lives in a world where everything is a test. If I'm right about this, maybe Willow will trust me. Maybe Michael will stop painting me as the villain. But then she walks in on Michael and Jacinda and suddenly has a whole different kind of power. She may not weaponize it immediately, but let's be honest, this is Nina. That vision of Michael cheating on his congresswoman wife with an escort is going straight into her mental vault. Michael's psychology is messy, and that's putting it nicely. Publicly, he's the golden boy, congressman, family man, figurehead of the Corinthos Quartermain brand. Privately, he's sneaking around with Jacinda, who started as his alibi and has turned into something real. He tells her he genuinely loves being with her, but he's not thinking 3 moves ahead. If Willow's charges are dropped and she comes back fighting for custody or even a fresh start, how's he going to explain this? His secret agenda is to have it all, power, image, and passion, without paying the price. That rarely works out in Port Charles. Just ask every Corinthos who's ever tried it. Jacinda is more emotionally grounded than Michael, honestly. She's worried about optics, about being the escort attached to a married congressman. But she's also falling for him. Her motive is to believe that this isn't just transactional, that Michael sees her as more than a convenient distraction. She's putting herself on the line for a guy who's still halfway in his old life, and if the truth blows up, she could lose everything, including her reputation and her sense of self. Over at the hospital, Portia is driven by fear and guilt. Fear of losing this baby, guilt over the paternity mess and the way her choices keep derailing Curtis' life, Isaiah's life, and Trina's stability. She wants to believe she can fix everything by being honest, eventually, but that's the trap. In Port Charles, eventually usually arrives with handcuffs or a wrecked relationship. Her promise to tell Isaiah the truth if he's the father is noble, but it also sets the stage for another major betrayal when Curtis finds out he wasn't told sooner. Britt is stuck between who she used to be and who she's trying to become. She's lost her license, her career, and a lot of credibility, but her instincts are still those of a healer. Helping Portia is her way of proving, to herself and the hospital, that she still has value. Her secret problem is the Sidwell FanZone mess lurking just off-screen. Jason forcing her to look him in the eye and admit she's in trouble might be the thing that finally tips her into full confession mode. Deep down, Britt wants out. She just doesn't believe she deserves it yet. Jason is, as always, the guy who wants to rescue everyone but refuses to examine his own scars. His motive is simple on the surface: protect Britt, neutralize Sidwell, and avoid another tragedy. But emotionally, he's operating out of old patterns, taking on someone else's burden, throwing himself into danger, and avoiding real intimacy. Every time he pushes Britt to talk, it's also Jason trying to rewrite the past, save her, where he couldn't save others. Carly's entire existence right now is one long undercover mission. She's in Brennan's bed but not in his heart, and certainly not in his corner. She's pretending to be his partner while quietly plotting his downfall with Valentin in her attic. Her motive is layered: protect Lucas, protect her family, avenge herself for what Brennan's put her through, and reclaim her power. The idea of a one-night stand with Valentin? On some level, that's less about lust and more about control. It would be Carly saying, "You don't own me, Brennan. I make my own choices, and I choose your enemy." Valentin is lonely, bruised, and locked into yet another morally grey mission. He's stuck in Carly's attic, relying on her goodwill, bickering with her about risks while quietly depending on her more than he wants to admit. His chemistry with Carly is built on 2 things: shared danger and a mutual hatred for Brennan. He's also carrying the weight of Anna's disappearance, the fake WSB mission, and his own Cassadine demons. A fling with Carly would be his way of grabbing one night of human connection before diving back into darkness. Nina and Brennan as a possible couple? That's pure narrative gasoline. Nina's tired of losing, tired of being the one who gets dumped, exposed, or left behind. Brennan, once he inevitably implodes with Carly, will be angry, humiliated, and looking for someone who gets how he plays the game. Their secret agendas would align in all the worst ways, Nina wanting validation and a partner who doesn't underestimate her, Brennan wanting an ally with connections, media savvy, and a willingness to bend the rules. It's the kind of pairing that could burn down half the town if GH really commits to it. Lucas is quietly one of the most at-risk characters in all this. He's moved into Windermere, blissfully unaware that his boyfriend's father is a dangerous operator and that Anna is likely being held somewhere nearby. Lucas' motive is simple and pure. He wants love, stability, and a fresh chapter. That makes him the perfect victim for someone like Sidwell or Pascal. If he starts poking around and finds that dungeon, his compassion will drive him to help Anna, and that's exactly what could get him locked up next. And then we have Anna, the ultimate survivor. She's probably in some hidden cell, counting every footstep, every tray of macarons, every muffled voice on the other side of the door. Her motive is survival, but also justice. When she gets out, and you know she will, Sidwell, Pascal, and whoever else is behind this will wish they'd taken their chances with the WSB tribunal instead. Okay, GH fans, let's play out some possible futures, with the disclaimer that this is speculation, but very juicy speculation. First, that traffic camera footage. Whatever Dante and Nathan saw, it made them feel like they finally had direction. It could show Willow's car in a place she swore she never was that night, which would swing suspicion right back to her and make Ada Turner re-evaluate her strategy. Or it could show someone else entirely, maybe a third player we haven't fully clocked, near Drew's house. If it reveals, for example, a car tied to Selina or even someone working on Brennan's orders, this whole thing could explode into a bigger conspiracy. If Ada Turner decides to pivot and go after Willow again, we could see a nasty courtroom showdown where Curtis, Drew, Willow, and even Michael are dragged into the spotlight. Willow might be offered some kind of deal, give up info on who else was involved, and we'll go easier on you. Fans suspect that Willow could end up revealing a crucial piece of the puzzle about that night, something she's been holding back to protect someone she loves. That could completely reframe her role from shooter to witness covering for someone. Curtis' future could go one of two ways. Either the investigation pushes the DA toward charging him with something like attempted murder or conspiracy, which would yank him into full-blown villain territory, or the case eventually shows he didn't pull the trigger, but his life still burns down because of the lies and the Selina connection. If the show leans into the darker route, you could see Curtis facing years behind bars, with Trina trying to decide whether she can forgive him again and Portia facing life as a single mom of a newborn, possibly with Isaiah as the bio dad. Speaking of Portia, fans suspect the paternity test could be used as yet another emotional gut punch. If Isaiah turns out to be the father, you're looking at a whole new dynamic, a child tying Portia to him while Curtis sits in legal limbo or prison. If Curtis is the father, the guilt may be what drives him to finally tell the full truth, about Selina, about the deal, about everything. Either way, that baby isn't just a storyline about health, it's a ticking time bomb for multiple relationships. On the romantic front, Carly and Valentin have all the ingredients for a one-night stand that blows up half the canvas. They're in close quarters, they're both under extreme pressure, they're united against Brennan, and they have that snarky, bickering chemistry that often leads to how did we end up in bed, in Port Charles. Fans suspect we might see that classic GH pattern, a huge argument, followed by a heated kiss, followed by a cut to black and some very awkward morning after dialogue. If that happens, Brennan's reaction could be nuclear. Once he realizes Carly has been playing him, emotionally and physically, and hiding Valentin under his nose, he might move from manipulative villain to full-blown unhinged. That's the kind of escalation that could endanger Lucas, the kids, or even Nina if she's anywhere near Brennan when the truth comes out. Nina and Brennan as a couple could evolve slowly. Maybe he goes to her after the breakup, framing himself as the wronged lover, painting Carly as the schemer. Nina has a history of falling for wounded men who claim they've been misunderstood. Fans suspect she might initially resist, but the BTS clues and on-screen interactions suggest we're heading toward at least a flirtation. If Brennan uses that old WSB favor to do something big for Nina, like help her with custody or bury some incriminating information, that could seal the deal. Over at Windermere, things are primed for a horror movie arc. Lucas starts noticing strange noises, odd locked doors, and maybe Pascal acting twitchy whenever he wanders too far from the main halls. One day, he follows a sound, maybe someone tapping, maybe Anna calling faintly, and he finds a hidden entrance. Fans think Lucas could be the one to finally locate Anna, but that discovery might get him thrown into captivity with her. Imagine Lucas and Anna trapped together, trying to outsmart Pascal and Sidwell, trading war stories, and waiting for Valentin or Jason to find them. Jason and Britt's storyline could collide with the Windermere plot in a big way. If Britt finally tells Jason about Sidwell's final project and the dangers she's facing, Jason might connect the dots to what's going on with Anna and Lucas. That puts him on a collision course with Sidwell, Brennan, and possibly even Valentin, all of whom want to control what happens on that island. It's not hard to picture a big rescue mission, complete with gunfire, secret tunnels, and someone taking a bullet meant for someone else. Michael's double life is another powder keg. If Willow's charges are dropped and she returns determined to reassert her role as mother, Nina now has this Michael and Jacinda bomb in her back pocket. She could use it to argue that Michael's not the model parent he pretends to be, or she could sit on it and wait until it gives her maximum leverage. Fans suspect that when this affair comes out, it won't just destroy Michael's marriage, it could wreck his political career and blow up the carefully constructed facade he's been hiding behind. And don't sleep on Kai and Trina. Kai doesn't believe Curtis is guilty and might decide to play amateur detective, possibly teaming up with Drew or Dante to find the real shooter. Trina, stuck between her loyalty to her father and her moral compass, could be drawn deeper into the investigation. If Kai's theory that neither Willow nor Curtis is the shooter pans out, we might see a shock reveal, a third party with motive, opportunity, and a connection we've all overlooked. Fans are already speculating about dark horse suspects in Drew's orbit. So, GH fans, here's where we're left. Curtis is in a cell, counting on Jordan's loyalty and Drew's fear to save him. Drew's staring down a choice between truth and self-preservation. Willow's freedom hangs on a traffic camera, a DA's decision, and the tangled web of lies she's already told. Michael is playing with fire in Jacinda's arms while pretending his home life is stable. Nina has new ammunition whether she uses it now or later. Portia clutches her baby and waits for test results that could redraw her entire family tree. In the shadows, Brennan thinks he's in control because he shares a bed with Carly, but he has no idea Valentin is in the attic plotting his downfall. Carly is smiling at the wrong man and trusting the right one, walking a razor's edge that could cut her the moment Brennan realizes he's been played. Nina may soon find herself drawn into Brennan's orbit, and if GH leans into that pairing, we're looking at a love square involving Carly, Valentin, Brennan, and Nina that could power story for months. Over at Windermere, the walls are holding secrets they can't keep forever. Lucas might be one wrong turn away from discovering Anna's prison, or from being dragged into it himself. Sidwell and Pascal are juggling too many moving parts, and when criminals start getting sloppy, that's when heroes like Jason and Anna strike. Britt's conscience, Jason's loyalty, and Valentin's desperation could converge in one explosive showdown on that island. So what do you think, GH fans? Is Curtis really headed for an attempted murder charge, or will the traffic cam footage finally clear his name and point the finger at someone else? Will Willow walk free and demand her kids back, and if she does, will Michael's affair blow up his chances of keeping custody? Are we actually going to see Carly and Valentin take their attic banter to the bedroom, and would Nina really turn to Brennan once the dust settles? And out at Windermere, who's going to escape that castle first, Anna, Lucas, or the truth itself? Drop your theories in the comments, because this feels like the calm before a very messy storm. If GH keeps pushing all these threads at once, we could be heading into one of the wildest stretches Port Charles has seen in years. Stay tuned, stay suspicious, and don't trust any traffic cameras, attics, or castles, not until the credits roll.